Tonight, Whyala's first solar plant switched on with the capacity to power thousands of homes, and Port Augusta Council threatens legal action over the saga of Bird Lake's smell.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. A 6 megawatt solar plant at Whyala has officially opened. SSE's plant will feed renewable energy back into the grid, and the company says its work across town isn't finished yet.
It's been a long time coming, but the first solar plant in Whyala is officially open. In a few weeks' time, SSE will power up to 1,400 homes using over 17,000 solar panels.
It's been a lot of effort by a lot of people. The whole community's got behind the project, so it's not just SSE Australia, but Whyala as well.
Local contractors conducted a majority of the work, and even before Stage 1 has been switched on, the company has begun work for the next stage and beyond.
Literally, we're moving across the road to start Stage 2 in about a month's time. Stage 3 will commence within a month or two of that as well.
Member for Giles Eddie Hughes says this project, along with plans from GFG, mean Whyala is on the cusp of being a national hub for renewables.
We're going to see the fundamental transformation of electricity provision in this state.
It's a view backed up by Mr Gillam, who says Whyala should be a renewable port of choice.
One of the things about Whyala is it's a very, very supportive community. Everybody sort of gets behind you. So we've really enjoyed our time here.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
A man has been arrested over a spate of break-ins in Port Pirie. Police were called to a home in Trafford Street yesterday afternoon after reports a man had damaged a car and a house. While officers were searching for the suspect, they received a call of a break-in occurring in Falconer Street. Police managed to arrest the 39-year-old after a short foot chase. He faced court today. Meantime, officers are investigating the theft of a tipper truck and a number of computers from the Memorial Oval site office in Port Pirie. Police are urging anyone who knows the whereabouts of the equipment and the Hino Brooks hire truck carrying West Australian number plates 1DP0731 to come forward. The New South Wales government has hit back at claims Broken Hill locals will have to fork out more for water once the Murray River pipeline is up and running. Water Minister Niall Blair says Labor is simply running a scare campaign.
Yesterday, the Shadow Water Minister claimed Broken Hill residents could potentially pay over $500 a year on their water bills to cover the pipeline's maintenance costs. Today, the State Water Minister hit back, labelling it as a lazy, cheap shot.
He doesn't seem to like how we're doing things, but what did he offer? Is he going to support the pipeline or not support the pipeline? How are they going to ensure Broken Hill's future, rather than just making up stories and numbers along the way?
Mr Blair says the Independent Pricing and Regulatory Tribunal will have the say on how much ratepayers will have to fork out to cover ongoing costs.
The ongoing operation and maintenance will be looked at by IPART, but they look at a whole range of things when they determine water prices for community members.
While yet to be determined, Mr Blair says IPART could very well come up with a figure substantially different to the Shadow Minister's calculations, which he says are baseless.
There is always the options for government to look at what the IPART determination is and to see whether we do contribute more towards it.
And when asked about the pipeline's business case still not being released, Mr Blair says his line is open.
Oh, look, we've already said that we'll provide any further information to help communities understand our decision-making process, as long as it's not something that breaches our confidentiality agreements.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Another part of Port Augusta Power Station has been brought to the ground as demolition of the facility continues. The smaller 80-metre Playford B stack was felled with explosive charges right on 9 o'clock this morning. Locals turned out to watch the impressive event. Flinders Power says it's yet to confirm whether the highly anticipated 200-metre high northern stack demolition will be scheduled in April or May. The Port Augusta Council is threatening legal action over Bird Lake in the latest chapter of the town's saga over smell. It's demanding lake testing records Flinders Power and the EPA have refused to provide. Amelia Simpson explains.
The Port Augusta Council says Bird Lake and its smell is a burden the community and the environment shouldn't have to bear. Now it's threatening legal action if its demands for more information aren't met. It's asking the former power station's owner Flinders Power to reveal its management structure and its extensive records on Bird Lake, documents which would legally assist council in its bid to remediate the troubled site.
They hold water testing data for quite a number of years on the water that was discharged from the power station into Bird Lake. Now, even though we've asked for it several times, they've never actually provided it. So now we've formally done it. In December, the EPA said the problematic Bird Lake is council's to fix. At the end of the day, the EPA is meant to be the Environmental Protection Agency. I actually question who or what they're protecting at the moment. Council says the Bird Lake area is a combination of private and state government land. It's now taking legal advice from local government specialists Kelledy Banks. Both parties, at a bare minimum, should provide that. We're being open and transparent as they should be open and transparent. Council says Bird Lake will be up for discussion at its meeting on Monday night.
Asbestos has finally been removed from Port Broughton Beach more than a year after it was first discovered. It's understood the matter was only reported to the Environment Department last week. Contractors removed the material last Friday and Saturday, cleaning the surrounding contaminated area. It's believed the material was illegally dumped after the 2016 storms. After the break, we speak to the Liberals candidate who's put his hand up for the seat of Giles. That story next. The Whyalla foreshore will soon be disability friendly, with beach mats to be installed along the coast. The mats allow those in wheelchairs to have access to beaches and the water. Premier Jay Weatherill confirmed the state government will fund the project during his visit to Whyalla this week. Wheelchair-bound Zia and Cyan Westerman led the campaign to bring these mats to the city.
Very excited to be able to go down to the beach and watch my brother on the sand as well. Can't wait to go down on the beach and use them. Yeah, I can't wait.
The mats will be installed later this year. Port Pirie residents have helped save the lives of almost 500 people. During the Red Cross's visit to the town last week, more than 166 people gave an hour to donate blood. 18 of them were first-time donors. The service is calling for more volunteers to roll up their sleeves when it's next in town in April. That's very good news. Hot on the heels of SA Best's announcement of a candidate for Giles, the Liberals have unveiled their contender. Mining worker Mark Walsh says despite the seat being traditionally a safe one for Labor, he's in it to win it.
Sealed with a handshake, Mark Walsh is now ready to take up the fight for the Liberals in Giles.
When the opportunity to come up, I thought, well, instead of sitting around doing nothing, give it a go, see what happens.
The Cowell-based mine worker has previously been involved in farming and small business. He's criticised Labor for taking the electorate for granted. He'll be seeking more investment in the area.
It goes all the way across to Corn, Hawker, up to Roxby. Look at the wealth that comes out of there, and we don't get enough of it spent here.
Mr Walsh is also making cheaper power bills a priority.
A lot of them are doing overtime. They say, what are you doing overtime for? Because of the bills, the costs, you know, the power, the regos, the insurances.
Giles has been a safe Labor seat since 1993, and the entrance of Nick Xenophon's SA Best makes Mr Walsh a rank outsider. But the long odds don't faze him.
I don't have to care about them. No, I'm going to run my campaign. I'm going to try to do my best. You've got to be in it to win it. If you don't have a go, you're not going to know, are you?
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Broken Hill locals are being warned to expect delays as road resealing work begins across town. City Council is spending over $500,000 on the work, which will run for over a month.
Be patient. That's the message from Broken Hill Council.
From the 30th of January through to about mid-March, weather permitting.
The first batch of resealing will take place on Hall, McGowan and Oxide streets, with work also happening down Cummins Lane.
We'll also do letterbox drops around the affected areas so that people know to get their cars inside and off the street so that the crews can roll through there.
Work crews from Council's Parks and Garden Department will be part of the resealing work. It'll mean upkeep of the city's major parks and inner city areas will take a hit.
We probably don't have as much staff as we used to, so therefore when a big project like this comes along, we do have to pull workers from other areas. It does have to be all hands on deck, so we have to pull people across, and we'll just aim to get it done as quickly as possible. Council
warns drivers to be on the lookout for crews and to drive cautiously.
There may be a few road closures and a few delays, but there'll be signage up, there'll be staff on the road, and we just ask people to be a little bit patient while we get the works completed.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Still to come tonight, fish and tips, plus how the region's celebrating Australia Day. The details next. A Port Augusta artist is taking locals on a 2-month journey across Spain through an exhibition. The Reluctant Pilgrim is part of the Yata Pertley Gallery's latest display.
With pages of her diary lining the gallery walls, local artist Iniki certainly has nothing to hide. Her work based on her experience trekking the famous Way of St. James pilgrimage in Spain.
If you'll read my diary that I ask, why am I doing this? But it was an amazing thing to do.
Taking 65 days to walk over 880 kilometres from France to Spain, she documented the days and lessons she learned on the taxing route. Working from just A5 pieces of paper, she then put paint to canvas depicting her route and Spain's poppy fields in spring.
So I had all the backup, I had all the groundwork, I had all the foundation. Then it was just a question of looking which ones would inspire me and which ones I wanted to paint.
While her journey took just over 2 months, creating the exhibition for local audiences took a little more time.
I took 15 months, but that was with breaks in between. But last year I had to put my head down and really just work. So it was 12 months of really hard work.
From her countless steps abroad, Iniki hopes visitors to the Port Augusta Gallery take away this.
I learned that you can do anything you want as long as you take one step at a time. That age is no barrier. That if you have a goal, just set to it and break it down in small steps.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
Thousands are expected to come together tomorrow to celebrate Australia Day across the region. In Port Pirie, festivities will take place on the foreshore, with organisers predicting a bigger and better event than ever before.
The Aussie spirit is set to come alive on our National Day. Celebrations will kick off first thing in the morning with a flag-raising ceremony. There's been a lot of changes to the foreshore over the past year, but traditions like the thong-throwing competition will remain the same.
But we also have activities on the grassed area as well, which will include jumping castles, animals, and also face painting as well.
Family-friendly activities will take over Solomon Town Beach.
Beach activities including the Jim Mortlock Memorial Raft Race that will happen as well as part of the Australia Day celebrations.
Festivities will feature a Citizenship Awards ceremony recognising Port Pirie's Citizen of the Year and Community Event of the Year.
Australia Day for Port Pirie is where we look back over the year and we've had nominations come in for Citizen and for Event, and I'm very pleased to say that we've had some outstanding nominations.
And with the mercury set to soar above 35, a reminder to keep cool and stay hydrated.
There'll be medical assistance there if required on the day, but just make sure you do whatever you can to enjoy the day, but also to keep yourself safe from the heat.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Sure to be a great day. Time now for fishing tips.
Welcome another week around the Gulf Fishing Tips from Port Pirie. Crab season is right upon us at the moment. We've got beautiful crabs. Port Pirie's turned it on. They're not big crabs, but I tell you what, you can hammer a nail home with them. So they're a perfect run for you for this weekend. So it's going to be very, very hot. So the crabs will be on a big serious march. So have a crack at them over Saturday, Sunday. And don't forget Australia Day is a great day to have them on the barbecue as well. So we also got some garfish happening around the place and some nice sized snapper. So get amongst it this weekend. Be careful of your weather though.
G'day and welcome to this week's Fishing Tips from Port Augusta, Jewel North. Well, it's a few days of reprieve from the heat there, but it's going to be getting warm, so make sure you cover up there. Beautiful time, the Australia Day weekend, get out, get amongst the crabs, and then in the afternoon try for a sundown catch of snapper down around the powerhouse and also the seabird and the tire if they're getting those. Don't be surprised if you pick up an odd flathead where you're trying for silver whiting out in the middle banks too. They can be a bit of fun.
Plenty of crabs are starting to move into the town, especially for the land-based anglers. Heading out towards Fitzgerald Bay, seeing some really good numbers of crabs coming in. Just go on the bend there in front of the sand and I'm sure you'll find some great bluesummer crabs along there. There's also been a few coming in from the foreshore, not quite so thick there yet and still lots of small ones. Out in front of the foreshore caravan park there's been some really good numbers of silver whiting, so get out there on the low tides and follow the tide coming back in, and there's been some great fish. Also for the boat anglers, snapper have been sort of bit of mixed reports coming from both locations, north and south. The Point Lowly Rip's been very hit and miss, and also down south as well, but there is some good fish to be found. The tip is just keep moving around till you find the fish. Still a few squid down towards Mount Young and a few King George whiting out front of there as well.
Stay with us after the break. Amy has the weather. And Amy, are the warmer temperatures here to stay for the Australia Day long weekend?
They sure are, Fraser. The Spencer Gulf is certainly feeling the heat, but a cooler change is on the way. I'll have all the details next. Welcome back. Port Augusta continues to swelter, reaching a top of 35 today. Meanwhile, Whyalla reached 32, and it was a slightly cooler 28 in Port Lincoln. However, temperatures are staying quite high for all other centres. To the satellite now, and a low pressure trough is bringing a few showers across the southern part of the state, clearer skies in the north of South Australia. And if you're planning to spend Australia Day on the waters, we will see a southwesterly winds shifting southeasterly up to 25 knots. Seas will reach 2 metres and the sun will pop up at 6:33. Taking a look at the conditions for tomorrow, and Port Augusta will have to swelter through one more hot day, getting to 41. Port Lincoln will creep up to 32, while it's still going to remain quite warm in Woodna and Corn, 41 the top in those areas. Meanwhile, Broken Hill will have another 40-degree day, and all other districts will remain in the mid to high 30s. Looking ahead, and while it will remain quite warm in Port Lincoln, a wet and windy change is predicted into early next week. Cleve will creep up into the 40s before a cooler change on Monday, and there is some relief from the heat in Woodna, also hovering in the low to mid 40s before a cooler 29 early next week. Continuing to stay warmer further up the Gulf, and Port Augusta will see the cooler change on Monday with showers and a top of 33 after temperatures continue to hover in the 40s over the weekend. Meanwhile, Whyalla will get to 29 on Monday, and similar conditions in Kadina, seeing showers and 27 early next week. Port Pirie will continue to get a good dose of the heat, reaching 41 on Sunday, before some showers also on Monday. Similar temperatures in Clare over the coming days, cloudy and showers with tops of 30 early next week. However, there's no relief just yet for those in Broken Hill, with fine and sunny conditions, with temperatures remaining in the low 40s before 38 on Monday. So Fraser, the heat will relent slightly early next week in the Spencer Gulf.
That's great news. Thanks, Amy. And that's Southern Cross News tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're off tomorrow, so from the team, we hope you have a happy and safe Australia Day, whatever you're doing. We'll see you on Monday. Enjoy your evening. Good night.